Hello and welcome to another edition of Sega Sundays. My name is Justin Towell, aka Cat Gone Crazy. Today we're playing the very noisy Manx TT Superbike on Sega Saturn. This is a real retail copy of the game, PAL version. Mine's in quite good condition. I got the instructions and everything inside. And just looking at this intro movie, actually, as I show you the instructions, very nice. It's running in pretty much full screen. I mean, that's really impressive for a Saturn game. I don't remember people talking about that, but trying to think what other games had video that big. Maybe FIFA 97, I remember, or FIFA 96, I remember being impressed by the intro movie to FIFA 96, but this is very good. So, this is a conversion of the arcade sit-on bike classic, which I've played quite a few times because there were quite a few versions of that in the UK. And yeah, using the 3D pad, I'm going to stick it onto analog using the toggle switch so I can have nice analog steering. Now there's arcade mode or Saturn mode or time trial where you can configure the controls, but I think that's alright, and nothing about widescreen, only sound config, so I think we're just going to have a go at arcade. Just like the arcade, there's only the TT course and the Laxi Coast courses. And I'm going to go for manual and hope that I can remember what the controls are. Anyway, I remember looking at this pre-rendered loading screen and thinking, cool, imagine if games looked that good. But by today's standards, that looks really basic, doesn't it? So it's amazing how far we've come in this time. The game came out in 97, I think. Right, let's try and find what the controls are. Okay, I found the view change button first, but I've now found the gears. If I was using the D-pad for digital input, then the bike would be flapping around all over the place. We've spoken about this in other videos. But as it is, it's actually moving very nicely indeed. You can go onto the bike like this, which is the preferred method if you're on the bike itself in the arcade and sit on cabinet. And the Saturn is rotating the background, as you can see, so it's doing a lot of rotation as well as scaling everything. The majority of things you're seeing on the screen are, well, sprites masquerading as polygons, but there are also some 2D elements that are being scaled and rotated as well, like the onlookers there. Now, there is one disappointing element of the physics of this game, and that is that the rival bikes don't seem to be bothered by the hills, whereas your bike really is. Decent sensation of speed though. If you turn too much, you hear the skidding noise and the bike really digs in, and that can be used to your advantage, but it can also pull you to the inside of a corner. I like the way that it flashes white as you come through the tunnel there to simulate the light on your eyes. The rods and the cones changing. A decent amount of detail. Apparently this uses a enhanced version of the Sega Rally Championship game engine, and I think you can see that. It does look a lot like Sega Rally. The track is sort of warping a little bit at the bottom of the screen, but that's to be expected, really. The game is actually trying to draw quite large draw distances, and to do that it's got to use stretched planes. I keep wanting to say polygons, but they're not really polygons. Right, is it possible to go up to 7th gear? No, it's not. So it's very difficult to win this race because the rival bikes have got so much more power over the hill. So really you've got to ace the rest of the track and hope that you get enough of a gap. But seeing as they're right with me, I don't think so. Yeah, yeah, a decent representation or translation of the arcade game. And you see there's a fork in the road there which goes off round to the right. That is where the TT version of the course goes. And I don't think I'm going to make it to the line in front of them, no. So quite a frustrating game because I didn't do much wrong, I've got to say, and yet wasn't able to win. So that's one of the ways that Sega kept you coming back for more in the 90s, was to just make it rock hard. But yeah, there's not much more I could have done. Right, so I get to put my name in first. And by default it says AAA, AAB, AAC, AAD. I've never seen that before in another game. Okay, right, so that's the arcade one. Shall we try the Saturn side and see what we've got here? Practice or challenge? Or Superbike? Let's try challenge. That one seems like a cheap bike, surely. What else have we got here? Yeah, definitely going to go for that red one. Yeah, that's the one. Right, and hopefully it's going to take us onto the course select screen. No, it's Lexi Coast again. Okay, so perhaps it's both. We'll have to see what it does. Round one. So I've owned this game for ages, and of course played it until I could win it, and I did play it 2-player with my dad as well. I think at one point we had 2 knights pads so we could both enjoy it with decent control. But I don't remember doing this mode much at all. I usually pick it up, have a blast on arcade and think, yeah, it's not as good as Sega Rally, and go back to that. I think the other riders can fall off. I might be wrong. I seem to remember them falling off. But I might be thinking about a different game. Let's try the other view again. So I do... No, it's harder. I do like the way that the back wheel is so big. It does have a good chunky arcade feel, but the game is harder in this view, that's for sure. Pretty good detail on the left there, the hotels, the cottages. And it's funny what you'd be pleased with for your money back then, because this would have cost $49.99, which in today's money is literally £100 just to race these 2 tracks. Hard to imagine. And I think there's a degree of rubber banding because honestly I'm up with the leaders again despite that unfortunate riding incident earlier. There's a little bit of slowdown, especially when you go into the first person mode. Just a little bit, but then I think there actually is in Sega Rally, which I never noticed earlier. The bikes seem to be hovering at that point. We've done a good job of making the background rotate at the same amount as the 3D elements. I remember the reviews at the time saying it's a high quality video game, and that is very true. No one could argue that. It's not. And they do seem to wait for you, that's very interesting. Now I'm pushing my left thumb all the way forwards on the 3D control pad to get that rotation in the turning. And again I finished second. It's weird, isn't it? And all those people disappear as if from nowhere. Amazing low resolution track graphics there, but of course you don't really notice it while you're flying along. But it's incredible how far we've come. Only fourth here. And it says E this time. I wonder what the E stands for. Right, well, let's see. Presumably there's a round 2. Yeah, round 2 on the TT course. And it's got grey skies. So I think the Saturn version actually adds some weather, not necessarily a wet track, but we'll soon see. But I am proven completely wrong here. By the clearest blue sky you ever did see. Anyway, hurtling down the hill, this is the TT course, and this is where things get quite serious. Ah, it's difficult. There is one of the Saturn bikes that doesn't skid, and that does make it easier to control. With corners like this, you just get sucked to the inside. Now here you go between 2 buildings. I remember. Yeah. But there's no real, punishment for colliding with the buildings. So this was, I suppose, the first racing game after Sega Rally, so people were expecting really great things, and it wasn't quite as good. And sadly, I think you could argue that Sega never actually topped Daytona and Sega Rally. Oof. That's designed to catch you out at the end of the lap. Now there is a pit road there. I don't know how many laps, I've got 3 laps. Perhaps I'll try going in the pits next time. Yeah, it actually doesn't hold together that well at high speed, which is very surprising. I don't remember it being quite so shonky, I've got to say. Huge F. They really were pushing the Saturn very hard to bring this one home, because it is clearly a bit more ambitious than Sega Rally, with the scale of the circuits, the speed you're going, and the number of rival vehicles around you. I'm starting to think I shouldn't have chosen manual, because it's quite a lot to keep on top of. So this section you'll recognise from the Manx course circuit. And there's still a timer, even on the Saturn mode. Even when it should just be a race, there's still a countdown clock and you're passing checkpoints. Let's try and nail this. Alright, let's go in the pits and see what happens. It doesn't do anything. That's disappointing, isn't it? There's a lot of detail in these scenes. For it to run so quickly is impressive, but that's the end. And honestly, I'm not sad. You're going to pass the checkpoint? No. I'm not sad that's the end. This is about as long as I spend playing Manx TT whenever I load it up these days. When it was new in my possession, I didn't get it as soon as it came out back in the day, but I did get it later and wished I'd picked it up a bit sooner. It's probably a higher quality game than Daytona CCE, but I think I'd rather play Daytona CCE now. So there we go. Yeah, nothing else to look at there. I haven't got a second player to play the 2-player mode, but there is one and it's split screen. But yeah, thanks very much for checking out this edition of Sega Sundays. Check out the playlist, which is coming up soon on your left. And I'll see you again next time. Take care until then. Cheers.